In this lecture, I just want to quickly demonstrate the diffing rules that we just learned in our project, so that you can see that they actually do have a practical effect in the real world. So let's start by examining a bit better what happens as we use this tab component. So again, here we have this button that when we click will hide that paragraph, right? And also when we click here, then we update the state and the likes number increases. So that's what happens in this tab. But now watch what happens when we go to another tab. So you see that the text is still hidden and the number of likes is still at 4. So what this means is that the state of this tab component instance has been preserved. Now, if we hadn't learned about this in the previous section, then this would look really strange, right? Because we would expect that whenever we go to a new tab, that the state would be reset. But that's not what happens. So as we click around here, the only thing that happens is that this title here is changed. I mean, this text down here also changes, but it stays invisible. So here the text changed, and the state again stayed the same. And the same here for the number of likes. So what is actually happening? Well, basically each time that we click on one of these tabs, the tab component down here is re-rendered. However, as we can see down here in this component tree, as we keep clicking around, we see that the tab content component instance always stays in the exact same position in the tree. And so with this, we are now in the situation that we learned in the previous lecture, where we have the same element, so in this case, the same component in the same position. And so because of that, the state is preserved across renders. So just like we learned before. So again, as we keep clicking around these tabs here, this component instance here is actually not destroyed. So it stays in the DOM, and the only thing that changes is the props that it receives. So of course, the props will change. So where is that? Right here. So you see that now as I click here, then of course, down here, the prop will have changed. But that's the only thing that changes. So the state, again, remains completely unchanged. But what if we now click on this tab number 4? So as we can see in our code, in this case, so when the tab num is 3, actually this different content component will be rendered, right? And so let's see what's going to happen. So we have number 4 here, and we have the text closed. So now we click here, and immediately we see that we get a completely different component instance right here. So it's still in the same position of the tree, but it's no longer tab content, but different content. And so now when I go back, watch what happens. So now the state has actually been reset. And so that's because the tab content that we had here before has been completely destroyed and removed from the DOM in the meantime. So while we were at the different content. And so that's why I placed this string here, which says that this is a different tab, and so it resets state. And so indeed, if we keep going here, maybe we hide this, then again, when we go here and we go back, then the state has been reset. Because again, in the meantime, this component here has disappeared, and with it, its state. So this is a direct consequence of the diffing rules that we just learned about. And so this means that these rules are very important actually in practice. So you can see the situation happening all the time. And actually we saw the exact same thing in our eat and split application. But don't worry about that for now, because we will come back to that app actually in a few lectures from now. Now, sometimes, of course, we do not want this behavior. So actually, just as I was saying in the last lecture as well. So for example, let's say I hide the details here, but then I actually expect that when I go to a new tab, that it starts again with the default. So with this opened again. So again, usually this is not what we want. And so let's take a look at how we can solve this in the next video.